Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are talking about living life on your own terms. Later on in the show, I'll be interviewing my good friend and Ramsey personality, Chris Hogan. Chris is the host of The Chris Hogan Show, and he is an expert on helping you take control of your life and your money. And then I have a challenge for you on how you truly can change your life. But first, let's go ahead and talk about living life on your own terms. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are talking about something really fun. We are talking about living life on your own terms. Now, that might sound simple, but let's be honest, most of us don't do that. Now, let me give you a quick backstory of a few things that I have done that are a little weird. They're just a little weird. Well, for one, in 2006, when I came home from college, this was when Dancing with the Stars, the popular dance show, dance competition, was getting really popular. It was kind of the first season, and everybody was all interested in watching these celebrities compete in dance. And I got really excited about it. I was like, this is really cool. So I'd watch it week after week. Well, one week, I'm sitting at home, and an advertisement comes up for Latin and ballroom dance lessons in Nashville. And I was like, that sounds cool. I think I'll do it. And I did. For a year and a half to 2 years, I took Latin and ballroom dance lessons. I even competed in a competition, true story, in the rumba, the cha-cha, the swing. I will spare you. I will not demonstrate today, but I really know how to do that because I took those lessons. Now, that's weird. That's weird for a 22, 23-year-old to take a Latin and ballroom dance lessons, but that's not the only weird thing I've done. I've done other weird things, many of which I've told you about. I have moved to a 40-acre farm when all my friends are living in the city, kind of doing the corporate job thing. I am mucking stalls and working in a nonprofit by myself with fainting goats and a mini donkey and boarding horses. That's not normal. And then I decided I wanted to play soccer. You know, I love soccer and had loved it growing up. And so I was like, man, that'd be fun. You know, I was in my early 20s. I was like, that would be a good source of exercise. So I went to the YMCA in my area and signed up for the adult league. Well, I didn't have a team. You know, most adults had like friends they were deciding to play soccer with, and I didn't. So they put me on a team with all Guatemalan men that spoke no English. Y'all, it was one of the most fun experiences of my life. And by the way, my Spanish got really stinking good. Like I was going to Mexican restaurants, just rattling off my order in perfect Spanish with perfect enunciation. It was amazing how all of these experiences, though they were weird, were a lot of fun. But what was more important than that they were things that I wanted to do. They were things that were true to me. I found Latin ballroom dance lessons interesting. I found playing on a soccer team interesting and fun and different. I loved living on a farm. I'd always had a dream to live on a farm. And so when I look back at my life and I, tell these stories talking to friends, or if it comes up in conversation, people are amazed that I have done some of these things. They're like, I can't believe you really did it. I was like, well, what do you mean? They're like, a lot of people talk about doing those things, but they don't really do it. Like, you really do it. I was like, yeah. Why not? Now, here's what's interesting. I've realized that everyone's not like that. Everyone isn't quite as comfortable being a little weird, going against kind of the normal, logical path and plan for their life, and doing some things that might be different. But here's what I found. Most people have those desires in them. Now, maybe your thing is not Latin ballroom dance lessons. Maybe it's not a farm. Maybe it's not a soccer team with all Guatemalan women, which, as a side note, that soccer team, we were really, really good. Like, those guys were so good, we won every single year in the championship. So I've had these amazing experiences, but apparently, even though other people have this desire, they don't always pursue it. Now, let's talk about why. Maybe they feel like it's not logical. It's not practical. We get grown up and we've got to take the next practical step, and we've got to be more realistic. We've got to be safe and avoid any risk, or certainly avoid what anyone might think of us in a negative way. Like, oh, well, what would my friends think? Or what would people on Facebook think, because they're the authority? What would my parents think, or my in-laws think? We go through our life, certainly in our 20s and 30s, but even later in life as grown men and women, and we make decisions, small and big decisions for our life, based on what other people think, what other people say we should do, what other people think is the next right step for us in our life. Oh, well, this is how you do it. Well, then you get married and then you have a good job and then you advance your career and then you move into a bigger house and then you move into a bigger house and you send your kids to these schools and you parent in this way and you eat these foods and you join this gym and you do life this way. And there is this cookie cutter example that we are supposed to follow to do things the right way. What we find is it's not always fulfilling. You know, it's interesting. There was a book put out by Bonnie Ware, and she was actually a nurse that took care of people on their deathbed. And many of you may have heard me reference this before because she wrote a book and an article as well around this called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And in her time of nursing people and taking care of them on their deathbed in their final days and their final weeks, she found 5 really common themes among people who were facing their last days as they looked back on their life and reflected with the perspective that they had there at the end. And she said, the number 1 regret. Are you ready for this? The number 1 regret of people looking back on their life was that they didn't live a life true to themselves. They did what other people thought they should do. They took the safe path. They ignored dreams or desires or interests or hobbies or things they wanted to learn or things they wanted to go after because it wasn't a part of this path that everyone else set out for them. They just buried them. They just ignored them. And they kept taking the next logical step. I don't want you to do that. Friend, I don't want you to wait until later in life when you are looking back in hindsight to decide that you want to do things. I don't want you to look back with that regret and feel like, oh my gosh, there were these dreams and desires and hobbies and interests and things I wanted to pursue that I never went after. That you look back and think, man, I always made the safe choice. I always made the choice of what other people thought I should do. I took the practical path. Instead, you can decide today. Do you know that? Your life is just that. It's yours. You don't just have the right to create the life you want. You have the responsibility to, because I promise you, no one can do that for you. No one can change your life but you. No one can create the life you want but you. But you have everything you need to change it right now today. You have everything you need and all the power in the world to make different decisions today about who you are and what you want for your life, your family, and your future. If you want to be a fun mom, go be a fun mom. Go do fun things. If you have weird interests, go pursue those weird interests. Maybe for you, it's not Latin and ballroom dance lessons. Maybe it's not a farm that sounds stinky and overwhelming, and you're kind of right, it is. Maybe for you, it's not a soccer team. Maybe it's none of those things. Maybe for you, it's like beekeeping. I don't know. Think about bees. Do you like bees? You want to keep bees and the queens and grow the bees? And I have known a couple people that like beekeeping and they get real into it. So maybe that's your thing. Maybe your thing is food and you love trying different foods and cooking and you want to be like a travel writer, food culinary expert. Maybe your thing is you're interested in other cultures. Maybe your thing, you know what my mom's thing is? One of the things she loves, it's weird. Archaeology. She finds archaeology fascinating. Maybe that's your thing. I don't know what things interest you. I don't know what things give you energy and life and joy, but do you know that even if they're weird, even if they're different, even if no one gets it, not even your family, you have permission to incorporate those things into your life. You have permission to create a life that looks like who you are and being true to yourself, not being what everyone else thinks that you should be. If you want to pursue travel, if you want to pursue a new skill, learn something new, you have permission to do that. You have one life. You only get one chance to do this thing. So I want you and me to spend this one life being true to ourselves. Now, I want to give you 4 practical areas that you can do this. So as you're thinking about, okay, what are those things for me? Is it beekeeping? Is it, having a farm? Is it learning something new, learning a foreign language? What is that for me? I want to give you 4 areas to just explore in your own life of maybe considering doing something different. Maybe you're already doing it. Maybe you feel great, you're confident in all these areas, but maybe not. Maybe as we walk through these, you start to look at these different areas of your life and you say, you know what? I'm doing things in this area. I'm making decisions in this area of my life because of what other people think, from pressure from the outside. And if I could just choose how I would do it, I would do it differently. So let's look at these 4 areas. The first one is your career. Your career. you have the right and responsibility to pursue a career that's right for you. Now, I'm not saying have this Jerry Maguire moment where you grab the goldfish, run out, abandon your paycheck, and put your family at risk. You know I never recommend that. But you can start to create a plan. If you hate your job, but you need the money, you can start to create a plan for an off-ramp from the practical job you hate into an on-ramp into a job that you love that gives you life. Do you know that I love Mondays because I love what I get to do? You can do that too. I'm not special. I'm not different. I help people all day, every day, create businesses out of something they love. Ken Coleman helps people all day, every day, find careers in something they love. You don't have to choose between being happy and making money. You actually can do both, believe it or not. So what's that for you in your career? What's the right career path for you, or business path for you, or money-making, income-producing path for you? If you weren't worried about what everyone thought, what would you do? If you weren't worried about how silly or stupid you might look, what would you do? What would you do for a career? How would you use your skills and gifts and talents in a way that provided income for your life and your family? My friend Ken Coleman, who's also a Ramsey personality, is an expert in this area, and he's a great resource for you if you want to learn more about how to pursue your passion and your purpose and your calling and find a way to make money in an area that is a strength for you. He's at kencoleman.com, and you can also check out his show and find him on all the social media outlets. He would be a great resource for you. All right, let's talk about the second area that I want you to think about, how you can be true to yourself. In addition to your career, the second area is your family. So, what does your family look like right now? What are some of the values you hold in your family? What are some of the decisions you make in your family? What does your schedule and day-to-day look like? What does your year look like? What season of life are you in with kids or older kids or no kids or empty nesters? What does that look like in your season of life? Do you know that you also in your family have a right and responsibility to make your family look like anything you want to, even if it's different from your friends, even if it's different from how your parents did it or how your in-laws did it? I'm amazed whenever I talk to women on the road, at speaking events, or book signing lines, wherever, at how much pressure they feel from the generation before them, from their parents, aunts, uncles, extended family, their in-laws. Well, my mother feels like I should stay home and I feel so guilty for working. Well, my father feels like I should work more and I feels like I'm not working enough, I'm home too much. Everybody's expectations, everybody's pressure. You mean you're not gonna be here for Christmas? Every year we're here for Christmas. We're always at Grammy's house for Christmas, so you're gonna be here. What if you weren't? What if you decide to do something different for your family? Now, I'm not saying be inconsiderate and rude and run all over the people in your life, but remember, your family is your family. You get to decide what your schedule is, what traditions you hold, and how you interact with those other circles that are a part of your family as well. It's your family. I'm amazed at how many women make decisions about their family, their schedules, and even their holidays based on expectations from other family members. Oh, well, we have to do it that way or she'll throw a fit. Oh, we'll have to do it that way or there's gonna be such drama or it's gonna be a fight. So we'll drive all around the whole country to get to everybody's house for Thanksgiving because we don't wanna make anyone mad. We're just gonna walk on eggshells. What if you did something different? What if in love you had a conversation with those family members about how you can meet their expectations and still be true to your own family, be true to the traditions you wanna hold and what you want for your life and your home? So in addition to your career, I want you to think about your family. And what does it look like to be true to yourself and be true to your family and what you want for your home? The third area are your finances. Now, this may seem like not a really fun subject, but here's the thing. When you're thinking about your money, so often we spend money in a way that other people expect of us. Oh, well, everybody has to have these shoes and everybody has to have granite countertops and everybody has to go to these schools and everybody has to do these things. And we spend money to create a lifestyle that reflects what other people expect. What if you didn't? What if you were weird? I'll tell you, in my friend group, and I have a lot of great friends. In my community at church, I'm super weird because I don't have a credit card. They're like, how do you live? How do you travel? With a debit card? So you don't have a credit card at all? No. You really don't? No. It's super weird. But you know what? It's a value that I hold true, not just because I work for Ramsey Solutions, and that's an obvious part of working here, but it's because I've been in debt. I know what it's like to dig myself out of debt. I know how not fun that is, and I don't want to ever go back. So it's a personal value in addition with being a corporate value here at our organization. So I really don't have a credit card, and that's really weird, but it's really right for me. And so I'm okay with that. So what is that for you? What do you need to do in your finances? What decisions do you need to make in your finances? What changes do you need to incorporate in order to manage your finances in a way that's true to you, where your money is going to your values, not someone else's values, not keeping up with the Joneses, not someone else's expectations, but you're spending your hard-earned money on what is important to you. That's the third area I want you to think about. And the fourth one I love. The fourth area that I want you to think about is fun. Fun. What's fun to you? What's exciting to you? What interests you? What gives you joy and brings you energy? What makes life worth living? You know, if we're not careful, we just get so busy keeping up with the business of life, like errands and laundry lists and who's got the dry cleaning, who's taking the kids. We got a birthday party, get this person's present. We've got to go here, got to do our taxes. Man, life can really suck the fun out of life, can it? Like it really can. So it's up to you to create the fun. You have the right and responsibility to make your life fun. If you want your life to be fun, you got to do it. It's not going to naturally be fun on its own. Nothing's going to change unless you change it. So what's fun for you? What are those hobbies we talked about? What are those interests that might be something that would be fun for you? What are some things you can do with your family? Maybe you have a scavenger hunt with your kids one Saturday. Maybe you guys go on a camping vacation you've never done before. Maybe you and your spouse go on a date night to a place that you've never been. You can do things differently. You know, my husband and I, every single year, we take a vacation, just he and I. Now, that may not sound amazing to some of you, but to some of you, that is mind-blowing. And I know it is because I get messages on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook every time my husband and I go on a vacation, and we post about it because we go for 4 or 5 days, to Florida or wherever. It's not expensive. It's not fancy. It's not a honeymoon. It's just 4 to 5 days of just he and I being together. And I get messages upon messages. How do you do it? How do you leave your kids? How? I'm like, we just do it. We just leave. Well, don't you feel guilty? Don't you feel like a bad mom? No, I don't. Because I'm there 360 days a year. 5 days I can take out of the year to be with my husband and invest in that relationship that is important to me. And that's fun. And we come home and we're better parents because of it. So maybe that's weird. Maybe that's weird to your friends for you to go on a date night once a week. Maybe that's weird to your friends to go on a vacation once a year without your kids. So what? If your marriage is important to you and that's something you want to do, it's your responsibility to do it. Here's the deal. If you want a different life, you have to create it. No one can do that for you. You can look at your career, look at your family, your finances, and what is fun for you. And begin to create this life that you love. Begin to create a life that you're proud of. A life that when you are years down the road looking back, you're like, I'm so glad I did those things. I'm so glad I didn't worry about what other people think. I love the quote by Dr. Seuss where he says, "Today you are you that is truer than true. There's no one alive who is youer than you." So don't spend this one life being what other people think that you should be. Instead, create a life you love and live your life on your terms. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I am joined by my good friend and fellow Ramsey personality, Chris Hogan. Chris, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, so you've got a lot going on. You're the host of the Chris Hogan Show. You're traveling all over teaching people about money, and you've got several best-selling books. But for our audience that may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Oh, wow. So I do, like you said, get a chance to travel and speak,
Yep.
But I help people in this area of money, money as well as leadership. And so really helping people become the best versions of themselves. And why do I do that? It's similar to your story, Christy. I've been the recipient of people that cared enough about me to push me, people that coached me, to help me get better. And so I feel this obligation to help other people get better, whether it's in their leadership, in their business, or even dealing with their money.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like you're kind of branded as a financial and leadership expert, but you and I both know, we just did the Dave Ramsey Show recently. it's not just that one area of your life.
That's right.
Your money bleeds into other areas of your life relationally. Some of the calls we were taking, we were talking about the relational dynamics. And so even though you may help people as a finance expert, you really are helping them with their life.
No, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. Anytime you're any kind of level of success, you achieve any level of success in any of those areas, there are some traits that are carried over. There are some things that you can apply and reapply in your life in different areas and get progress as well.
Okay, let's talk about what those traits are, because we've even seen, when people get out of debt, they also tend to lose weight, and then they're, it's a domino effect. So let's talk about what those traits are.
Well, I think first and foremost, it becomes awareness.
Okay.
You start to look at things and you start to understand that better's available.
Okay.
Like that's one of the things that was a driving force for me. Going, this is where I am right now, but where do I want to be? I'm getting ready to tell you something. I don't want you to steal it.
I'm going to.
Okay, listen, it's called the AAA process. This is where you assess, you acknowledge, and you activate.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is assess where you are, take a hard look, and be real with you.
No, that's scary for some people.
It is, but you have to do this.
Right.
You've got to get real with yourself and look at it and go, this is where I am.
In any area of your life.
Any area. Yeah. You can look at finances and relationships, your own health, but you have to be honest about where you are. Then I want you to acknowledge that better is available.
Okay.
Meaning you can improve. Okay. And whether it's with your relationship with your kids, if it's your own relationship, if it's your health, your money, acknowledge that better's available. The third one, A, is activate. Okay. This is where you got to take action. Okay. This is where you're beginning to sacrifice things that you give up because it's worthwhile, but you're getting the right people around you, but you're activating a plan of action that puts you on the path.
Okay, I get activate. Let's go back to acknowledge really quick, because I think this is hard for some people that have never had better, maybe even never seen better. And you and I are the recipients of people that have invested in us. We're also the recipients of, we have experienced the fruits of our hard work in life, and we've seen and experienced that better is available, so that makes you want to go after better because you've experienced it. But I have friends, I've talked to people, Hogan, that they've never seen a good guy, so they don't want to hold out for the good guy to marry, or they've never had a job they love where they get excited about Monday, so they don't believe that work could be more than this 9-to-5 job that sucks the life out of them. So how do you help people in this acknowledge stage have hope and belief that better is available if they've never seen it?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Listen, I'm around people that are better at being social than I am. Okay. I'm around people that are better fathers than I am. And so spending time with them, I get a chance to see them in their environment. And it causes me to then go introspective and go, man, I want some of that. Yeah. I'm willing to improve. Yeah. Listen, I know people are stuck in all kinds of things. Yeah. Stuck in dead-end relationships, stuck in dead-end jobs. I think we get unstuck when we start to really think, what do I want and what am I willing to give up to get there? Okay. And so it might be a matter of you reaching out and having some conversations. Yeah. It goes back to being honest with yourself, like you said. But you've got to acknowledge that, hey, I don't have to stay here. I tell people all the time, where you are right now doesn't have to be where you end up unless you stop. And I think that's really important in the mindset, just because I think what you tell yourself is so vital.
Oh, that's good.
And I think some people are playing some very mean, nasty words in their own mind. And we have to stop that, because you will be defeated before you get to the start line if you do that. So change the track. Tell yourself some encouraging words. I'm not where I want to be, but I know where I want to go. And I know what I'm willing to sacrifice to get there. And I'm getting the right people in my corner, and I'm not done yet. That's what I want people to tell yourself. You're not done yet. And I told people life will knock you down. You've been knocked down. I've been knocked down. But here's the reality. I get to be the referee. I'm not going to count myself out. I'm going to climb up on that rope and get back up and go back toward what I want.
I love that visual. It makes me think of what Dave talks about all the time too, when you're talking about people in your corner that maybe you haven't seen a successful marriage. Maybe you haven't seen people that love their job. But if you get around people that have that, you begin to learn from them. Dave talks about, I want to be around people that have great marriages if I want to improve my marriage, or people that are great at their faith, that read their Bible, that are growing in their faith if I want to grow in my faith. So you get around people that have those qualities that you want in your life. So you're like, maybe I don't have it today, but by being around it, I'm learning.
But here's the thing. Our good friend Rachel says what? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
So it's okay to be around people that are better, but don't do the negative. Don't do the negative and go where you get envious or jealous of what they have. What I want you to do is become a student. Well, how do they have that? What are they doing to get there? And then most important lesson, how do I apply that in my life so I begin to get better? And so it takes a level of maturity to do that. But people that want better make that decision, and they're willing to give up and be uncomfortable and even have some uncomfortable conversations with people for the sake of them improving. Why? Because who stands to gain? If you're a parent and you you get better as a parent, your kids stand to gain. If you get better as a friend, your friends stand to gain.
Right.
And I just think there's more to this life than just us alone.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love the idea of let it inspire you, because if you have the posture of humility of being a student, I love that. We were just talking about this because we collaborate a lot on talks and that kind of thing. It'd be easy to look at someone that's a better speaker and be like, oh, well, I'll never be as good as them. It's like, no, let me go learn from them. Let me say, hey, will you sit down and help me write my talk? Or will you help me, write some jokes or whatever in there? One of the things that you talk about a lot, and this is similar to kind of your AAA strategy here, is people just let life happen to them. And I think that's really common. And especially for a lot of the women I work with, a lot of people watching and listening right now, they're just so busy, Hogan. They're tired. They've got little kids. They've got medium kids, big kids, whatever. They're just busy. Their schedule's full. And they think, well, when things slow down, then I'll get strategic. When things slow down, then I'll grow and do the 3 A's. When things slow down, and it's like things never slow down because they're just right here. They've got these blinders on. Just got to get through today. Got to get through today. Got to get through the day. So how do you help people get out of the day-to-day grind, out of the day-to-day weeds, and not just let life happen? Because you'll go years, decades of your life just letting life happen to you if you don't change something.
You're so right. Being passive will call you to miss out on all kinds of opportunity. We've got things buzzing, ringing, and dinging in our lives all the time. And I think until we make a decision to stand up for ourselves, and that's hard for women. Women are caretakers and givers. I grew up around strong women in my life. My grandmother was my best friend. My mom, my best friend, as well as my aunt, the 3 strong women. So I know the value of women and what they bring to the table. I'm a product of a single parent. So I think it's really important for women to make sure they understand that your voice counts. You have to make sure that it's somewhere in the priority list. You got to make your top 5 for you. And that means carving out time for you. And that doesn't mean, when I say that, people automatically think quantity of time. No, I'm talking quality.
Agreed.
And that's where you might take a couple of hours and listen to some music, take a walk, do some stuff for yourself. The kids can't have everything. Here's what I've learned. Givers struggle to receive. They struggle. It's hard for helpers to accept help. But the mindset is if you have that heart to want to help other people, until you allow other people to refill you or you refill your own tank, you don't have anything left to give. And the most dangerous thing is a person that's behind E, beyond empty, because it takes so much to come back. So give yourself some time. Be intentional with what fills your heart. And it's okay. It's not called being selfish. It's called self-care.
That's good. Okay, so I want to ask you about a quality that I think you're really good at. It's something I think that God has gifted me with, and it's something that I think is vital to being able to do what we're saying. Confidence, okay? Because so many people, they want to make a change, but when you make those changes, when you assess and acknowledge and activate, some people may not like it. It may be different than how your mother does it, or how your mother-in-law does it, or how your friends do it, or you're doing what? You're sending your kids to what school? You're doing what with your money? And they'll have opinions and judgment, and you have to have a good bit of courage, a good bit of confidence to say, yes, this is how I'm doing it. Yes, this is where I'm sending my kids. Yes, this is how I'm spending my money. Or yes, I'm going to be debt-free, or whatever those things that rub against those people that may not, agree with you. So let's talk about, how do you, I always tell people confidence is a skill. It's not a personality style. You can learn this skill. So let's talk a little bit about how to create courage and confidence to be able to make these changes we're talking about.
I'm going to go back to one of the strongest women in my life, Mama Hogan.
Okay.
I'll never forget. I was about 12 years old. I was sassy.
Okay, sure.
I was bumping my gums and doing something. And she had told me, and she hit me with this line, and I'll never forget it. She goes, "Oh, baby, I'm not debating, I'm stating." Okay, and it just kind of sunk. And I was 12, so I had that teenage brain, which was dumb. So she said it again, "I'm not debating, I'm stating." That statement stuck with me. And it's kind of this mantra that I have. When I know something that I want in my life and I'm chasing it, I'm not worried about people's opinions. They're like yesterday's. Everybody's got an opinion. I'm not debating with you. We're not doing a back and forth. I'm stating what I want, what I'm willing to sacrifice to get there. And you're right, it does come to confidence, but it comes from that inner belief that I'm not going to stop until I get where I want to go. And so I just think it's a mindset. I'm okay with people having differing opinions, but ultimately I'm in control. We did the largest study of millionaires ever done. Talked to over 10,000. 98% of these everyday millionaires had this belief. They believe they control their own destiny. 98%. And when you have a mindset of controlling your own destiny, you don't become a victim and you don't look to blame others. You own it. And I think that ownership and that self-responsibility and intentionality are absolutely crucial for people being successful.
Yeah, I love that because it applies to money, but it applies to anything.
Anything.
Like that you are in control of your destiny.
Yes.
And what I tell people all the time, because I think a lot of people wait around for permission, like waiting for permission to win, permission to be successful, permission to be a millionaire, permission to pursue that career, whatever the thing is. And I'm like, you don't need permission. Like you already have it.
Do you remember the field trips we used to take in grade school? Where you had to get the permission slip
yeah.
signed?
Oh, yeah.
And if your parent didn't sign it or guardian, you couldn't go.
Right.
See, I feel that same way. I talk about it in my book.
Right.
As an adult, we don't have permission slips anymore.
Yes.
You get to sign your own. And so when are you going to give yourself permission to dream, permission to try, but also permission to fail? Like, I think we get so worried about failing that some of us don't try. I want us to think more like a scientist. Scientists never fail. You ever notice that? What? Read. They'll talk, they say the experiment failed, but they never fail. I don't know why we have that same we can adopt that same mentality where I tried this thing and, hey, it didn't work. And there's this reason and that reason, maybe I didn't try hard enough, but here I go again, right? And I think that kind of spirit it can change the perspective for people.
And it's interesting too, because as you begin to take some of these steps, live life on your own terms, you take control, you stop waiting for permission, what I've found is you will inspire people to do the same thing. Because so many of people's opinions that don't agree with is a lot of times just envy. They're like, man, I wish I had the courage to do that. I wish I had the courage to go out, branch out and do something different. And you might even inspire people, even if your confidence is shaky. You're just, doing the best you can to stand up to that person and say, I am stating, not debating. You might be shaking, your voice might be shaking, but you're going to do it anyway. As you practice and strengthen that confidence muscle, you might even inspire people to do the same thing.
Well, that's absolutely right. Have you ever noticed, as we've gotten older, you got some friends you've gotten closer to, and some have kind of fallen off. I think it's the same in business, where we tell people all the time, what got you here won't get you there, right? Meaning what worked to get you to this point may not work moving forward. I think the same can be said with certain people in our lives. There are some people that you will have that are close, and there are some that probably are maybe too close. Maybe they have a negative attitude, or maybe they're holding you back a little bit. So I want people to even assess the close relationships that you have. Who do you have? Who's missing, right? And what do you need more of? But I tell people the best way to get guidance is to be a person that gives it. Meaning look to find other young people, look to encourage. That's a mindset for me, and that's why I'm on this planet. My goal is to coach people, whether it's in money or leadership or business. And so I'm not confused about that. I've embraced it, and now I want to sharpen those skills and get better.
I love it. So one of the things you talk about when you're coaching people is the American dream. It's alive and well. And this really is, you talk about it with money and what money can do for you in retirement and being a millionaire. But like we're saying, this can be transferred to any aspect of your life. So talk a little bit about what you've seen in your research and how the American dream is still alive and well.
Well, it was a media hit where someone made the statement, the American dream is dead and gone.
Oh, wow.
And I remember sitting there going, you've got to be kidding me. I know there's a single mom out there, or a single dad, or widow, or widower that's hearing this. And so my heart immediately got frustrated. I wanted people to know what's possible. We've been helping people with money here for over 25 years. I've been here for almost 15. I know what can happen. And so I wanted people to know that, hey, it's okay to dream. But here's what I found, Christy. There are 3 things that have to happen in order for you to make that dream happen for you. You've got to believe that you can. No, believe that you can. Most people will say, you don't understand, Chris, where I grew up or where I went to school or didn't go to school. I go, no. I'm not worried about all that. What do you believe is possible for you? And then after the belief comes knowledge. You've got to grow in your knowledge. We've got to learn more than we know right now. And then finally, it gets back to actions. I've got to start to budget. I've got to start to invest. I've got to start to treat my business like a business, not a hobby. I've got to start to see me with having value, right? And see that I'm not a finished product. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm not done.
Okay, so you talk about fear too, because I would imagine that as you go through these steps, that helps relieve some of the fears you might have. You tell people all the time, don't let fear dictate your financial future.
That's right.
So is that something where as you take these steps, it helps kind of relieve those fears? Because all the unknowns,
Well, here's the thing about fear. Fear is very real. But here's what I enjoy about fear. I know that sounds like a weird statement, but what I enjoy about fear is that it gives me awareness. It gives me awareness of what's a threat and what am I willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. It gives me boundaries. And so fear is very real, but I don't want it to dictate you. And it's amazing. I had to sit down and really here recently write down, what am I fearful of, right? As a parent, you're always fearful of something happening to your child or fearful of not reaching potential. You have to sit down and look at that. But when you stare at that and you look at it, then you go, okay, what's controllable and what's not? What can I control and what can I, right? And so it's one of those things for me, it gave me more confidence. I'm not worried about pleasing everybody. I'm trying to help the right somebodies.
Yeah, I love the idea of writing it down because that's one of those things where it's like when it's in your head, it feels overwhelming. It feels scary, it's big, it's ambiguous, it's unknown. You write it down. Here's what I'm afraid of. Here's what I control. Here's what I can't control.
Right.
Then once you see it, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. Like you can see it. It's tangible. You can touch it. You can hold it. You can deal with it.
Yes,
but when
you
it's
can.
up here, it's just this shadow that just follows you that keeps you up at night and you can't see it.
Here's the reality. Here's where women are much better than men, communicating. And so for those ladies out there, if you have that fear, I want you to find somebody to talk to. Like, I want you to sit down and talk about those things that are on your head and your heart. Because like you said, once you get it out, it's either not as big as you thought it was, and it becomes this thing where I'm also a verbal processor. You are too, okay? That's why your husband, Matt, I like you, Matt. But verbal processors mean as you're talking, you hear things and you start to think.
Right.
That's why I think it's so important for us to be social.
Yeah.
Isolating is terrible. Yeah. Do not do that. I've done that a time or two, and it's not a good thing. We need other people in our lives. We need to be able to communicate, but you need people you can trust. Yeah. And so get a few people that you can really count on and be real with them. Share it and watch what happens. You guys will start to encourage each other to chase your dreams.
Well, I love that because if we were going to get spiritual here for a second, I think the enemy really gets a foothold in our thoughts. He says, oh no, don't share it. Don't say it out loud. It's like, that's where just the fear grows in the darkness. So the moment you say something out loud, like, hey, I'm really afraid of this thing, it loses its power over you. And then you allow that other person who you trust to speak into it and say, well, that's not true, and here's why. And that would never happen, and here's why. And here's what I believe about you, and here's what I've seen in you. And they can just speak life over you that immediately that fear loses its hold on you. But as long as you keep it in your mind, it has power over you. It grows and grows and grows. So I love the idea of getting it out.
My grandmother told me, she goes, honey, you can't control what pops into your mind, but you do control how long it gets to stay there.
I love that.
And so even with fear or negative thoughts, what I want people to do is just have some good things, have some things you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. You've heard me say it's hard to be hateful when you're grateful. That's right. And when you're grateful for something, even when negatives pop in your head, go back to that thing you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. Just usher that negative right on out of the way. Yeah. Just don't let it park there. It doesn't get to take up your good space in your mind. You've got people to help and people to serve. Yeah. And I think we do that when we have our hearts right and our minds focused.
I think it's so easy too that, especially for women, we think a lot. We got a lot of feelings and our thoughts can spiral. Y'all know mine can. And I saw something the other day that it was a quote that said, don't believe everything you think. And I was like, I love that because I think when a thought enters my mind, I just accept it as true, but we should question those thoughts and say like, is this serving me? Is this true? Is this negative? And replace it. Like you said, you can choose your thoughts, replace it with gratitude, replace it with something.
Ooh, what was that statement again?
Don't believe everything you think.
And I would take it a step further and say, don't allow your feelings to dominate you.
That's good.
Right? Feelings are real.
I got to remind myself of that
Feelings
daily.
are real, but don't let them dominate you and don't let them control you. Right. You know, and I think we ultimately have more control than we think. Yeah. And I think it's a matter of having that mindset and believing, again, what's possible for us, growing in our knowledge and then taking the right actions. We can make anything happen.
I love that. Well, I love how you have taken so many of these ideas that you're helping people with, from business to life to money, and you made them very practical. Like, here are the practical steps that you can take, because people can be inspired all day, but they're going, what do I do about it? And you've given people those steps. Okay, I know people want to know where they can connect with you and everything you're working on, from the show to the books, all the resources you've got and ways you can help.
Sure, absolutely. Listen, if you want to connect with me, you can go to chrishogan360.com. That's chrishogan360.com. On all the social medias, you can find me.
And the show?
Oh, the Chris Hogan Show.
Yes.
You can find out about that on the website as well. It's caller driven, so we take calls and I'm helping people with life and money. You know how we do it.
I love it. Okay, well, before we go, one last thing. Will you just speak directly to our listeners and to our viewers and just maybe leave them with some words of encouragement? We're talking all about how you can take control of your life. You are in the driver's seat. You can live life on your own terms, and that is so much of your passion. So let's just wrap it up and I'll let you speak directly to them.
Would love to. Listen, ladies, I am so proud of you and what you've accomplished thus far. It takes a lot to be able to try, and we get fearful of falling down and falling short of the mark, or other people having a scoreboard for us in our lives. But I want to encourage you to know where you're going. And it's okay. We've all made mistakes. None of us are perfect. But I want you to learn to glance back, but focus forward. You can look back at that past mistake, but don't relive it. Focus forward. You got more in front of you than ever behind you. Get the right people in your corner. Believe you can. Pray hard, stay focused, and think of all the people you're going to bless.
I love it. Hey, if Chris Hogan says it, you better do it. Chris, you're awesome. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be with you, girl.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today I have a challenge for you. So I was on some calls recently and I was doing a little bit of research. I love to talk to you all and hear about, what you're struggling with and what inspires you so I can learn what I need to teach on. Well, I was doing these calls in this one particular week, and call after call, I started to notice a theme. I was speaking to women at all different ages and all different stages of life, and here's one phrase that they just kept saying over and over and over again. Are you ready for it? Well, when things slow down. Well, when things slow down, I'm going to fill in the blank. When things slow down, I'm going to be able to get some rest. When things slow down, I'll just feel more at peace. When things slow down, I won't be so overwhelmed. When things slow down, again and again and again, they said it. Now, this wasn't a particular point in the year where it was like, oh, they're in a really busy season and truly in the next season, things would slow down. I have heard this at any point in the year. When things slow down from this summer, when things slow down this fall and we get to Christmas, when things slow down from the Christmas craziness and we get to New Year, well, when things slow down from the New Year craziness and we get into spring, well, when things slow down with the end of school and going into summer, it never happens. I hear this again and again and again. And let's just break this down for a second. The belief that is buried beneath this statement, when things slow down, is that things will slow down on their own, right? That's what we're saying. Well, when things slow down on their own, when things slow down naturally, y'all, they never do. You know it, and I know it. Things are never going to slow down unless you slow them down. Think of a vehicle. You're driving a car and you're going down the interstate and you need to stop because there's going to be traffic ahead. If you take your foot off the gas, it's still not going to slow down enough for what you need. You have to hit the brakes. You have to control the speed of the vehicle you're driving. And the same is true in life. You have to control the speed of your life. You have to control the craziness of your schedule. You have to control what you want to be true. Things in your life are not going to slow down. Demands of you are not going to slow down. Opportunities in front of you are not going to slow down. Needs from your kids, from your family, from your friends, from your community will not slow down. It's up to you. It's up to you to slow them down. So maybe you're thinking, there are things I want to do. There are interests I want to pursue. There's hobbies I'd love to spend some time in, but I don't have time. I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to be alone. I don't have time to take care of my body. I don't have time to go on a date with my spouse or much less go on a vacation with him. I don't have time to do those things. Christy, I would love to do those things. I would love to do those things that are fun and bring me joy, where I'm living life on my own terms, but I don't have the time. No, you don't. So you've got to make it. You have to make the time. Nothing in your life will change unless you change it. Do you understand that? It's not going to change on its own. You're not going to wake up one day in a day or a week or a month and things are just magically easier. Things have just fallen into place. It doesn't work like that. It's up to you. You are in the driver's seat of your life. You decide the speed, you decide the direction, you decide the changes that you make. So I want to challenge you. What changes do you need to make? What speed do you need to change? Maybe it's looking at your calendar and cutting out some commitments. Maybe it's looking at your calendar and putting some things on there that you've been neglecting, like a date night or like working out or like, a book club you've wanted to join. I don't know what that is for you. But if you want something different from your life, you have to make it different. Don't buy into the lie of when things slow down, because you and I both know that things will never slow down. If you're waiting to have time left over to put them towards what's important to you, you will never do it. There's never time left over. You're never going to find the time. Instead, I want you to make time. So your challenge is to make the time for what's important. If you want things to change, you have to change them. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And for more encouragement on how to make money doing what you love, check out this next video.